Hi, in this video we are going to explore the evidences or the evidence for believing that the continental drift theory is correct, or the concepts that are proposed by the continental drift theory that later evolved into the modern plate tectonics theory is true. So one of that is the jigsaw fit of the continents. So if you look at the edges of our continents, like most prominently the edge of South America and Africa, they fit together, and you can actually fit in all the other continents in one connected piece. And again, this is the basis for Pangea. Now, at first, a lot of people actually were able to notice the shape of the continents, but we credit Alfred Wegener for this because he was really the one who really went out into the continents, traveled through the continents, and kind of verified if this was true. Because remember, the human mind is a very creative one. It has been found out that whenever there are random things like dots of stars, we always kind of see patterns in the stars, even if they're not really there. These are just randomly occurring patterns. Like that's why we have invented things like, the astrological signs, Gemini and Libra in the skies, because we were just imagining patterns. And it has been proven that through psychology and other studies of the mind that whenever we are looking at the random patterns, a random distribution of things, we always see kind of patterns in them, even if they're not there. So, how do we know that the edges do really fit? And this is not just one of those things where our minds are just deceived and we want to see a pattern, and that's why we see that the edges fit, even if they don't really, and we're just forcing the issue. So please remember that science has progressed to the point that we can use statistical methods to kind of verify if something is indeed happening, or if the degree of confidence that we have that something is happening is really high, or if it's not. So in the case of jigsaw fit of the continents, in math we have fractal theory, and that fractal theory can actually give you a kind of a statistical way of calculating if the edges of the continents are really um, the same, or if the edge of the continents fit because they were really once together, or if this was just random chance because of some random property of edge formation of edges of continents. And without getting into the details of how that statistical treatment is done, but I believe it's based on fractal analysis, or the branch of mathematics that goes into fractals. So without going into the details, we scientists can confirm that the fit of these continents, the edges of the continents, they are not just optical illusions, or they are not just uh, happening because we are forcing the issue, or we're just saying, they fit because they fit, or it's not because we are accommodating the fact that the edges fit, but there is really statistical uh, backing. There's really, when you do statistical treatments on the edges, the probability that they really fit because they were once connected together, and not because we are just seeing patterns that are not really there, is high enough that the degree of confidence to say that the edges of the continents really fit like a jigsaw is high enough that we believe that that is so. Again, just like everything else in science, are we sure? We can never be sure. But as you will learn later on, when we discuss the other evidences, the degree of confidence that there was really once Pangea would really grow exponentially when we consider other evidences like fossil, like coal deposits, like placer deposits, like tillites, like glacier movements of ancient glaciers on the surface of the earth, and all of those things. But as a starting point, we see, or we were able to saw, that the edges of the continents really do fit. And when we apply modern statistical treatments, we confirm that the shapes of the edges are not just random chance, or they don't just fit because of random chance, or because we are forcing the issue, but there's really a high degree of probability that they were indeed one, and then they broke off into different continents. So the jigsaw fit of continents is not just a trick that our brains made for us in order to force the issue, but there is statistical backing that it is really that the continents really do that the edges of the continent really do fit with each other. And again, this is just the starting point of the evidence for the continental drift theory. When you add in all the other evidences, just was just as I mentioned them later a while back, the continents would pile up to such a point that the degree of confidence for us to believe that the continents really drifted, that the concept of continents drifting as a starting concept for plate tectonics theory is really true. Okay, so that was the first evidence. Jigsaw fit of the edges of the continents, not just a trick, not just forcing the issue, but really backed up by some statistical treatments.